was doing one. Okay with that.
Oh, okay. Looks like
Turn
we're
on
live.
Okay.
That's it.
60 spells. Let me pull it up real quick. Everlasting truck bot.
And what do you hear? You should be hearing music. Crimson, what is up? Another beautiful day. Take two. How's your guys' day going so far? Oh, okay. Alright, yeah, so Stream Beats by Harris Heller is playing right now. So we're just waiting on Elf. Alright. So I had to rework the whole program, and it was, but I got everything set up so that like the Spotify plays in one, the Discord will play, the Chrome will play. Yeah. Just took like 3 YouTube videos and resetting all the connections. But it's like, okay, let's get started. I guess you're like, well, I'm not gonna necessarily tweet this out because we're not like taking questions or nothing like that. It's an opinion piece. Everybody's an expert. Yeah, he should disappear. Where's Elf? Elf, where are you? Did you fall asleep, Elf? Oh, be there in a bit. That was sleeping time. Fatty cute, right? Fatty cute. Oh, you guys can't hear that music. I'm over here like, oh yeah, hey, what happened? That's news. saw was your hand, but it looked like it was a big deal. Oh. Right, the 50,000, yeah, that's the 50,000 point turn. More weeks of 2020. Oh, there goes Elf. What is up, Elf? Right. Yeah, we're not even. Murder Hornets. Gotta love that one. Plot twist. Right, pimping ain't easy. That's the other one. That's the other one. Oh wow, we got 6 viewers. Let's get the show on the road. Are we ready? I appreciate it. Elf, where's your effort, Elf? We ready to go live? Okay. Okay, go ahead. Okay. All right. Let us know when you're ready. People are waiting. Yep. We'll be right back. Wow. Replace all the batteries in the birds. Candy's good. Share the wealth. Yeah, nobody. We lost nobody. Wow, that's a right. Go ahead. I don't even know what that is. Right. Okay, now we have 8. So let's. Are we ready to go to somewhat go live? We're ready. Okay. Okay. So let's go ahead and. All right. So we should be live basically on the audio piece. So let me go ahead and get it. What is up, guys? This is your boy SeanFlac 2.0. We are not transitioned over yet. And give me 1 second to make that happen. I just gotta stop something. Oh no. Whoa, there we are. Guess we're gonna be a little bit delayed on that. Okay.
The question is, can people hear us?
That's what I need you guys to check. I have good audio sound levels on this side, and it's showing I got good audio sounds on this side. So if one of you guys,
well, so far I can hear Sean.
Oh God.
What about me? Because I can't test it without headphones.
Okay, I got me. I got Potions.
Hello.
Crimson and Elf Daddy.
Hi,
Okay, so we're looking good.
Hi.
Go, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. Mr. Go Insane. Can you hear everybody else, though? He says everyone's good. All right.
Awesome.
What's up?
So then let me go ahead and just get this thing recorded. I could just record it as we're all doing this. Okay, for some reason that doesn't want to work. Now, do you want to work? No, you don't. Okay. Oh. Okay, fine. We'll do this. Oh, it's not letting me record it. So it looks like we're going to have to do this live and direct. Okay, so...
Well,
okay,
it's
personal
fine.
moniker. Thank you. You're hearing 5 voices. Okay, we ready, guys?
Yes.
You go.
I have finished the Instagram.
Okay. What is up, guys? My name is SeanFlac 2.0, and with me here in the studio via satellite, we have Crimson, the CrimsonShieldScholar. We have PotionsMaster. Wave. We got StealthKing and Lil Mama. And we have Elf Daddy.
Hello.
Okay, so just a little backstory, guys. We were supposed to do this here on Sunday, but again, thank you guys for tuning back into us. We got our technical difficulties figured out, and here we go. We're going to be talking about Tom and Jerry today, take 2. Before we get started with the show, I want to take care of some business. All of us are members of the Shadow Pack Gaming Network here on Twitch. We are a network of content creators and streamers that help support each other, network with each other. If you'd like any more information about us and what we do and all the content that we're creating, putting out there, you can check us out on our website, that's shadowpackgaming.com. Let me go ahead and throw that into the chat. You go ahead and click that link. That'll take you to our bios, our interviews, our Instagram, YouTube. Everything is there as well. Also, just recently, we started a partnership with Gamerized. Gamerized is a social platform made for gamers by gamers. Go ahead and check them out, and I'll go ahead and throw that in the chat as well. So go ahead and check that out when you're interested. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about Tom and Jerry. Who picked our topic of discussion today was CrimsonShieldScholar. So Crimson, go ahead and take it away.
Hey guys. So we are talking about Tom and Jerry, the 2021 hybrid animated film. We're supposed to be released in 2020, but yay, pandemic. So it got pushed back and released on HBO Max and in theaters, if theaters are open where you are at, in February. It leaves in 2 days, so if you haven't seen it yet, take the opportunity. And if you have access to HBO Max, you should go ahead and see it. It is, we'll get through our opinions of what it was, but I will say that it is an enjoyable film, at least for you're looking for a distraction and something that's fun. It is based off of the Hanna-Barbera cartoon from the 1940s. If you are unfamiliar, Tom and Jerry are two animals. Tom is a cat, Jerry's a mouse. They do what cats and mice do. Mises. Cheeses for the Mises.
Mises, yeah.
And they hate each other. Jerry is very smart and tends to outsmart Tom a lot, but Tom is very determined and very much likes to try to capture Jerry. This film was created much in the way of Roger Rabbit from the 1980s, or more recently Space Jam from the 1990s, in the fact that it is a hybrid animation live action film. So what that means is that Tom and Jerry and some of the other animals are animated, and then they work alongside human actors and human real life sets. So it makes for a kind of interesting environment. Whether they were successful or not is something we can probably go into. But overall, it was cool. Basic plot of the film. We are going to go into some spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet.
So before we get started with that, before we go into the plot, I would like to know, where were your guys' first experience, or like before this movie, obviously, if you guys have watched Tom and Jerry before, and just kind of share your background with it, if you knew it, or was this your first time with Tom and Jerry? So we'll start with Elf. Go ahead and let us know about your first impressions with actual Tom and Jerry, if you have any.
Man, I'm old, so I was like a little elf when I first started watching cartoons, and it was one of those ones that I think I was too young to understand the nuances of, but it was entertaining, kind of like, typical cartoon junk you show any kid that you're just like, I don't care if you pay attention or not, just stay out of my hair. One of those things.
Okay. Stealth?
So, when I was younger, in the 90s, it was my first interaction with it. Granted, by that time, Tom and Jerry was officially off the air, but you had all your reruns and everything popping up everywhere. And then this girl's first time for watching Tom and Jerry was actually, say, about 4 months ago. She laughs every time. She loves it.
Potion?
Well, back when I was a baby Potions, I came across it mostly just background on the TV in my grandmother's house whenever we visited her. And then I never really paid too much attention to it. And then I noticed that something was very similar in The Simpsons with the Itchy and Scratchy show, just that one was way more extreme.
Right. Crimson.
So I watched cartoons growing up all the time. And definitely watched Tom and Jerry, watched, traditional Looney Tunes cartoons, all the stuff that was on the Warner Brothers WB channel growing up, Saturday morning cartoons. My first main recollection of them was the Tom and Jerry Kids show. It was a really big thing back in the 90s to have all the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons, but to have them be younger. Y'all remember that? Like they had Scooby-Doo, but they were teenagers.
Right.
And they had,
Pup named Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, a pup named Scooby-Doo, exactly. And they had Tom and Jerry Kids. And so it was Tom and Jerry when they were younger. And it was one of my favorites. And my brother and I watched that a lot growing up. So.
Well, I'm old, just like Elf, apparently. But yeah, same thing. Watched it growing up. Obviously, the reruns. My favorite character out of the show is Spike. So I'm glad they brought Spike into it. So yeah, I mean, it's old school, and I'm old school. I love them. I love watching them. And again, you didn't really have to. They didn't talk, so all they did was smash and break stuff, and it was like, okay, I can relate to that. So, Crimson, share with us, why did you pick this for us to watch?
Why did I pick it? Because I am a huge cinephile.
Okay.
I love all things movies. The fact that it's been almost a year without new movies has been really sad to me.
Yeah.
I go and I watch movies every week. I have like the movie pass equivalent for AMC, so like I basically have insurance against bad movies. So that means I will literally go and I will see almost anything. I love the cinema experience. I love it all. So when this came out, I thought it was family friendly, which is good because that meant everyone could see it and it didn't necessarily have any like bad connotations to it. I thought it would be entertaining and lighthearted in this time of need when we all need that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's fun. Good times.
Okay. All right. Well, like you said, I'm not going to spoil what I'm going to feel about. Okay, but let's get into the plot.
So, Tom and Jerry have put themselves into a lot of crazy situations throughout the years, but I think this one definitely ranks up there as one of their most crazy, in my opinion. It stars Tom and Jerry, obviously, as the animated creatures, but it also stars Chloe Grace Moretz. She plays the main character, and then also Michael Pena and Colin Jost. And so they're there, and they live in New York City. And Tom plays a piano. He's a keyboardist, like a busker in New York City, I guess. And he almost gets killed by Chloe's character. And then she discovers a hotel, a very nice hotel. It's reminiscent of the Plaza in New York City, even though it's not that. And she goes there for free food because she's very poor. And then she realizes that there is someone there who's looking for a event planning assistant for a big wedding that's happening that weekend, which doesn't happen in the business, but whatever. Right. And then they decided she pretended to work for the hotel. She told the person whose it actually was that the position has already been filled. She stole the person's resume and then passed it off as her own, so she gets hired for the hotel and then helps plan the wedding. And then Tom and Jerry get involved because Jerry ends up living in the hotel. So she brings in Tom to try to capture Jerry. And of course, shenanigans ensue. It's very fun. Or as Potion said, very high anxiety because they break everything.
Okay.
Oh my God.
So let's take a quick break from the plot. So let's kind of talk about all the way up into there. So how did you guys feel about it up until there? Potion, what you got?
It was decently engaging for just a popcorn flick. Like, did I find it highly believable? No, but then again, it's cartoon, so meh. I mean, as far as it goes, definitely not the tightest plot I've ever seen, but definitely not the worst either. So it flowed fine.
Okay. Stealth?
So, for me, it felt like at points there were some pacing issues because, well, it's like any crossover from live action to cartoon, you're gonna have some small pacing issues because you're gonna go back and forth, but other than that, it was grabbable. I liked it a lot. It brought us back to the reminiscence of who Tom and Jerry are and why they moved to big city.
Okay. Elf?
What?
I actually found it really entertaining. I enjoyed it, and it gave me a big sense of nostalgia, but also like a sense of sort of freshness to it. Although I was a little bit surprised because, like, at least in the cartoons, it always seemed like Tom was the one kind of antagonizing things, whereas this time it seemed like Jerry had literally no reason to be a dick, but he was. So I was like, okay, this is kind of new.
I'm going to agree with you on that. Like, when I came to, the plot was the plot. I mean, it wasn't going to be, anything to write home about. But one of the things that pointed out me about the plot was, like, they made Jerry out to be like a thief. He was going around stealing stuff. And I was like, I don't remember that being... And then, like, Tom being a piano player, right? He played like a blind piano player in the very beginning. So he was, like, trying to, like, scam people or whatever. So I thought that was different. I wish they would have done a little bit more with that musical playing part in Tom's part because he was playing the piano. Well, those are some. I was like, oh, they kind of changed Jerry for me in this. Like, yeah, because I totally agree with Elf on that. Jerry was an asshole, and he didn't have no reason to be. All right, so
Right, for sure.
so let's continue on. What else happens there, Crimson?
I also think that just pulling off of that, I would have loved to have a better introduction to the characters. It's been a long time since Tom and Jerry have been in the public eye. They had a feature-length movie in the 90s, but they don't really have an ongoing cartoon, I don't believe. So for kids these days, I think that it would have been better to sort of introduce their characters and their dynamic in a way that kind of sets up who they actually are.
Right.
Because if you didn't know who they were, that's literally what you would get from them. You would get Jerry's a thief and Tom's a grifter.
Right.
So yeah. So it's kind of strange. And so I kind of wish the introduction had been a lot more set up with the animated characters, the lead actors of the movie, which are Tom and Jerry, as opposed to the more setup that was done for Kayla, which is Chloe's character's name.
Right.
So.
And I remember her.
Anyway,
I was like, that's Hit Girl.
What?
I said, that's Hit Girl. That's how I remember her. I was like, that's Hit Girl.
Right?
Yeah.
Where's her gun? Anyway.
Where's her wig?
Right, the purple wig. Okay.
The last thing I saw her in was it was a teen drama like film. It was like a John Green film, but it wasn't John Green. It was another author, and I can't think of it as that. So that was me to her. I was like, oh my god, this is weird. Anyway.
Right.
So she gets the job at the hotel. Michael Pena is her boss, who, in my opinion, is the best part of the film. Oh. I think he definitely held it together.
Yes.
His character was fantastic. And every time he came on set, I was like, yes, thank you. We have good parts of this movie again.
I thought
he sees right through her. Like as a good person should be. He sees right through her. He realizes that she is not who her resume says to be. But he's, his boss is like, no, it's fine, whatever. And so he's like, okay, cool. And then he throws her into the job. And then we get to the craziest part of the movie, in my opinion, which is the wedding guests, who are supposedly, they're Nick Jonas and Priyanka Chopra. Like, there's nothing else that you can say about that. That is who they're supposed to be. Very rich, very wealthy people. And so it's like really good for the hotel that's where they're getting married because of the publicity. And Kayla, or Chloe's character, immediately bonds with the couple, which is really nice. And there's like the weird wedding stress between them. Oh. And then back to Jerry being a thief. He steals her engagement ring, which is like, 8 carats or whatever the heck it was.
The thing was like a fucking rock. Like it was like a soda can, like on top of her hand.
Yep. And so Kayla is charged with finding the ring too, because she can't. The Priyanka character, can't remember her name. Let me look it up. Preeta. Yeah, there you
Preeta,
go.
Yeah.
Priyanka, Preeta, whatever. She says that she doesn't want to let anyone know that it's missing. So she enlists Kayla's help and says, go find it. And so then she in turn tells Tom that says, hey, like, we have to make sure that Jerry gets caught, because she realizes eventually that Jerry has the ring, which is cool.
Oh, one of the things you forgot to mention with the couple was Spike. So yeah. Spike and what was the cat's name? Sophie?
I think, yeah.
Okay.
Something like that, yeah.
Toots.
Toots? Oh, was it? Wow, how did I get Sophie out of Toots?
They both O's and an S.
Okay. We'll run with that. That's you get me. All right.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. So they introduced Spike and the cat. And I love Spike, and he's a beast in the movie, literally.
So, playing off of Spike in the animated film, or in the animated TV show, that's one of the things that they've done, is that Spike is a dog and Tom's a cat, and like what dogs and cats do, dogs chase cats. So they had that in the film, that Spike did not like Tom, and so that he would go after Tom all the time. But Kayla's really good with pets, so she was able to like calm them down the first time.
Right.
which is always fun, which I like.
Yeah. So what was your guys' take on the wedding piece? Like, I personally, that was, the dude was over the top. So the husband, I guess, who'd you say that was supposed to be? Nick Jonas.
Nick Jonas.
Yeah. So I mean,
Nick Jonas.
I love the fact that he was like, I just want to make her happy, and I don't know. He was also vying toward like his father-in-law's approval or something like that, and so I could kind of relate to that. Like me and my wife got married. That was like, the big. Do you want the big wedding, the little wedding, and the stresses with that? But definitely, I thought that was definitely an afterthought. Like that was definitely not a major plot part that I thought that was hashed out. It was just like an afterthought. What did you guys think about it?
Despite the wedding taking up a good portion of like the whole conflict of the plot, it wasn't a big feature. Like it was sort of an afterthought, like very understated, but very over the top at the same time.
Oh yeah.
On the other hand, it was lovely.
Right. It was animated tigers and elephants around, peacocks and everything.
And the butterflies.
Oh, yes. And the
Butterflies. Yeah. I don't know. It was one of those, like, they wanted to prove a point with Ben, the Nick Jonas stand-in character, and how he got lost in his own head and just took things to the extreme and just wasn't listening to Prita, which, that can happen. That was fairly realistic, and that tracks. And the wedding part was honestly one of the most anxiety-ridden parts for me, because I'm sitting there just going, the destruction, who's gonna clean it up? Oh my god, there's broken glass everywhere.
Stealth,
anyway.
What did you think about the wedding part?
Well, he meant well, is what it is. He was doing the typical guy thing, and he meant well. But overall, as a plot point, I felt it over the top. Like, why in downtown New York City are you going to have elephants inside the middle of a hotel?
Right.
Now, if you are in Grand Central Park, it would have been better. It would have been fine.
Right.
But nope, they had to destroy a hotel to move the plot along.
Presentation.
Right.
On the other hand, in a CD store, a really tiny CD store, a little hole in the wall in the mall, in Watertown, New York, the Baja Men were there signing autographs. And this was right after Who Let the Dogs Out, so, like, it was swamped. Lots of weird shit happens in New York. Totally believable.
Okay. I'm not from that side, so you guys know more about it than I do.
But please show me a hotel that can fit 2 elephants side by side.
That. Like,
okay, I will give you that.
That destroys your suspension to disbelief in a half-animated movie.
You can get it to the hotel. That's fine. Trucks can go down the road.
Okay.
You can even get it into the loading dock, right? Because hotels have loading docks even in New York City.
Right.
But getting them from the loading dock into the ballroom is where I lost it. Because I was like, there's absolutely no way that you can get these from the loading dock into this ballroom, because the loading dock does not directly open up into the ballroom. And if it does, it's a really weirdly made hotel.
Right.
It's also the fact that the elephants, they were displayed as fully grown elephants. Baby elephants, I can kind of see that happening. I can see baby elephants happening. Fully grown
They were
elephants.
like baby elephants.
Right. They were going all Prince Ali style. Like, they were having the full procession.
Right.
That's a whole different anxiety attack for me. God.
Right. Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Okay. Let's get moving. Where are we at in the plot?
So, I mean, we jumped around a little bit because we went a little bit further into the wedding, but
Okay.
Back to Spike too. One of the best parts, and what I say why Michael Pena is the best part of this movie, is when he was told to walk Spike, and I thought that was fantastic because Spike walked him, and then that's where they come in and back into the lobby, and he sees Tom, and then they have the giant cartoon
Hurricane.
Scrabble. And they destroyed the ancient ceiling of the hotel lobby, which I cried when that happened. I was like, no, like, you can't replace that. it's like a Tiffany glass blooded ceiling. And I was like, oh my God, they just destroyed it. And the only thing that happened, which is also unrealistic, but whatever, is Terrence, who's Michael Pena's character, was put on administrative leave. And I was like, nah, man, you'd be fired. But that's fine.
It wasn't even his fault, though.
But
It wasn't. But
he was a supervisor.
Working in hospitality,
Right.
a lot.
Somebody has to take the blame.
Yeah, exactly. And Kayla and Preeta were friends, so of course you couldn't get rid of the person that's good with your VIP guests. So.
Okay.
And the thing that was the funniest to me about that was the reason why Terrence had to walk Spike was because, oh yeah, we fed him burritos and
Remember,
that's
the easiest way to get a dog to go crap is to feed it a burrito.
I mean,
Like reminiscent.
I don't
like
really
the movie
remember
Gone.
that kind of humor being in the original Tom and Jerry either. However, I didn't usually pay that much attention to it, so.
I mean, it's reminiscent also back to the movie Gone in 60 Seconds. They had a scene like that. A dog ate keys, and they needed the keys.
Oh, fuck, man, love that movie. It's a good movie.
So they gave him burritos, and he had to use the restroom right in the middle of the crosswalk, by the way. Right?
Yeah. So
that was golden, though. Michael Pena's performance in that was golden, though. He was just like, "Don't you see me? You cleaning up crap here?" It was. That
was probably one of the most accurate things in that movie.
Right, I walk in here. Now, I did used to work as a vet tech, so speaking from a medical perspective, please don't feed your dogs burritos. If you have to get your dog to go to the bathroom, use canned pumpkin instead.
Is it me, or is she gonna have to restart her story?
What?
But the dog wants the burritos.
Right, it's
obviously.
Spike. Right. Spike eats burritos, apparently, in this world.
I'ma hurt you.
He's a cartoon. It's fine.
Right. It's cartoon burritos, so we're good.
Fair.
Okay.
So Tom. So the one thing that actually surprised me in this film, I will say, is that Tom actually succeeded in catching Jerry, which I did not think was going to happen. I did not think that they were going to allow that. But he succeeded in creating a mousetrap, which really looked like the game Mousetrap, if any of y'all played that, and I thought that was kind of funny.
I love that part of them. That was classic Tom and Jerry to me. Right? I mean, I was just like, yes. I mean, if that didn't bring it back to like the old school, like what was the other one? Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. I mean, just that nostalgia.
Yeah, when he caught Roadrunner that one time.
Yeah. I thought that was great. I wrote that down. I was like, that rat trap was classic. Now I get to write it off, sign it off my list of things to talk about. I thought that was cool.
Now you look all official.
Right.
Right.
And check.
Right.
Yeah, no, I thought that surprised me. I'm glad that they included that. That was really cool. I liked the little box that they put him in, and I liked that they, tried to mail him
to Abu Dhabi.
To Abu Dhabi, yeah. And then the sad part of the film, which also doesn't jive with the grifter Tom in the beginning, but the gang and how like the gang was trying to catch up or gang up on Tom when he was in the pound. I thought that was that was sad, but it was also not. It didn't connect to his character, in my opinion.
I thought that could have been that whole section. I thought could have been thrown out. Like how he was getting bullied by a bunch of alley cats.
I mean, it was a callback to the beginning of the movie, but like there was so much other stuff they had just crammed in there. The alley cat thing in the beginning was just so ultimately forgettable. I was just like, oh yeah, that was a thing, right? Okay, it just unneeded. Like both of those things are just whatever.
Right.
Like I get it as an impetus of a way to get Tom into the hotel, but they didn't need the callback to it. They didn't need that whole section with him getting bullied by the alley cats. But then that transitions, that's the word I'm looking for, transitions into the prisoner's dilemma, which I thought that was kind of cool. When Michael Pena's character is like, all right, only one of you can get back into the hotel. Which one can it be?
Oh, he was a. So let's talk about Michael Pena real quick. So his character got put on admin leave, and then he was just like watching the craziness go on, and then he put like this scheme together. Like he was such an underrated character. I love him as an actor, and then especially when he's like, okay, I'm gonna put these two next to each other and play them off each other. I thought that was golden too. So
Yeah, that definitely was peak of his character there for me. I was just like, you're a dick. But I like that you're a dick because you're funny as well.
right.
He was playing a dick in this movie.
But I loved his character. I really liked his character.
I kind of wanted him to throw in a Waffle House reference for like the character he played in Ant-Man.
Oh, yeah. Let's.
Hey, he was playing.
I was
he was
waiting
playing
for the waffle reference too. I was like,
supervisor
come on,
in the
throw away.
hospitality industry. That's what it was.
Oh, he was a perfect supervisor in the hospitality industry. He perfectly played the middleman, the guy who's caught between his upper management and then is also being a manager of the people below him, like 100%. So I watched it.
His life.
Yeah, like I worked in hotels. I know Elf's worked in hotels. I've watched it with my boyfriend who's worked in hotels, and he teaches hospitality. And he was just like, "Oh, that's what I did wrong. I didn't fail up."
Right. I thought it was hilarious when he was like, "I worked my way so hard to the middle." Right? He didn't even say I didn't work my way up. He was like, "I worked myself so hard to the middle." I was like, "Yeah, that's gold. He's gold."
That was speaking truth right there. Absolutely. Working my way so hard to the middle. You're like, yep, because that's where you stop. Because there's nowhere to go but there.
Right.
So that was really cool.
Let's keep it
yeah. So then the prisoner's dilemma. I love a good prisoner's dilemma. I think that's always, it's a cliche, but it's cool tension. And then they go back to the wedding, and then we've talked that the wedding was a disaster, just a little bit. Just a little bit of a disaster. In most thanks to Tom and Jerry, and it was a cameo, but it was amazing. Is Ken Jeong's character who played the head chef? I thought he was fantastic as a small little cameo, because my heart also broke when that cake got destroyed, and he was just like, "No, my life's work." I was like,
right, and then he destroyed it though. He went to bat on it literally.
Just one more reason why Jerry's an asshole.
Kim Jeong is a wild card. He is a wild card as an actor. Because he's always played. Look at Community. That's where he did his longest sitcom role. Is in Community. He went from. He stayed a psychopath the entire show. Then obviously, if you watch the Hangover series,
it's the best part of the Hangover, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Totally
but did you die?
I don't know. I liked him in Knocked Up too. That was awesome.
And then he's great as a panelist on The Masked Singer.
And he hosts.
Oh my god, yes, and he's on another one too. Who Sung It? I think it is. That's a cool show too.
Yeah, it's like another Masked Singer one, like a spinoff.
Let's get back to Tom. Let's get back to Tom and Jerry. Okay.
Sorry. Anyway, so no, and I thought that was cool. I know it was sort of reminiscent of, to me, Ratatouille, when they're just like, oh my god, there's a rat in the kitchen, and then like everyone tries to like go and like kill it, and it's like, because that's what you want to do when you're going for a Michelin star, is to declare to everybody that you have vermin in your kitchen.
Right. Right.
But he did, and then he tried to kill it, and I thought that he destroyed his own creation, which is of course ironic in its own way, because he was so protective of it, and then he was the harbinger of his own destruction, which is always a good little plot point there, storytelling device. And then of course Prita gets upset, as she would. She's like, this isn't even what I wanted. They had the typical elephants are afraid of mice, which of course isn't true, but in the cartoon world it is. And then they destroyed, the entire thing. And then, Kayla comes clean. She's like, I wasn't even supposed to do this job. And then rightfully gets kicked out along with Tom. And I think Jerry does too, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. So I think so.
Yeah,
Like,
I was gonna say it's been
deal.
a month since I watched this, so I'm like just trying to remember. And then what's arguably the most silly but the best part of the film, when they're like, we're gonna fix the wedding and have it again, but we must contact Preeta and we don't have her cell phone number, so we're gonna chase her down with a drone. And
Yeah,
In the middle of New York City.
that was one of those weirdest things. Like, I knew early on in the film when they were setting up how over the top Ben was because he got a drone because he wanted to, and then he got this like fully automated skateboard with Wi-Fi, and I'm just like, from a writer's perspective, you don't just dump that information in there just for willy-nilly. So I was like, I wonder how they're going to bring it back. And then, of course, well, we have to chase down Preeta. We have this drone. We have this electronic, like, motorized skateboard with Wi-Fi, so we can still, like, track her on a map. It's like, of course. Cool.
yeah, instead of just, calling her from the hotel, because like obviously she won't pick up Ben's phone, but she could probably pick up the hotel or like somebody else. Instead of just being like, hey, they have to have Tom and Jerry track her down, which of course is the
More destruction.
well, more destruction, but it was
bang for
also
me.
the focal point of the film because it got them working together. So like the whole
Yeah.
point is that they are mortal enemies, and then Kayla sends them out. We didn't talk about that, but Kayla sends them out in a day in New York to get them out of the hotel and to try to like become friends and work together. And they don't like each other, and then they sort of like each other. And then they decide to finally work together. And so them chasing her down was their, culmination of their friendship, and they're putting their rivalry aside.
The redemption arc.
What?
The
Redemption arc.
Yeah, redemption arc. Yeah, exactly. And so that, it was cool. It was a lot of CGI budget that I thought could have gone somewhere else.
Are we talking about the chase on the skateboard and all that stuff? Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that was cool. I thought it was kind of crazy how they became friends, right? They made them become friends, and then they did that. I want to say that was the most like heart, tugging on the heartstrings because they really messed up, and then they did their best to put it back together. I was like, okay, this is where I'm like, this is where to me it earned its bread and butter, like for what it was.
Yeah, that absolutely was the culmination of the story, where it was like, mortal enemies come together for a selfless reason to help, fix the wedding that they screwed up. And like, these people are meant to be together, and obviously their actions made them not. So they're like, oh, we got to fix that. So spoiler alert, they did. They got her. They somehow brought her back. No, they didn't somehow. They stole her cat, right?
Yeah, they stole the toots. Toots?
Yeah.
Toots?
Toots? Toots, however you want to pronounce that.
Toots. Okay, yeah. So they took Toots.
Gotta put your New Yorker on its toots.
Yeah, exactly.
Capiche.
So yeah, and then of course she's in love with her cat, so she's like, oh my gosh, let me, run after you. And then she runs down into the park, which was supposed to be Central Park, but it was supposed to be the plaza, which makes sense, I guess. And then like he's there and they have the wedding, and somehow she gets changed and has a whole new outfit and a whole new, thing. And, they live happily ever after, sort of, until Tom is playing the piano. So they bring that back around. And he's doing it to impress.
Oh my god!
Potion's like texting me through the whole thing. She's like, they screwed up the second wedding too. And then of course, you got Jerry, and he has to be the instigator, which again is weird because that's not how it normally is.
Right.
But he was, and then Tom comes after him, and that's the end of the movie with some weird song by a pigeon.
All right.
That's Spider-Man too.
There was a couple things that stood out to me. So I got my little note sheet right here. So I thought Joy. We didn't talk about Joy, or did we? right? The
Not
bellhop.
yet. I wanted to because she was my hands down favorite.
I wrote down that I liked she was quirky, but I really liked her.
I completely forgot about Joy. Yeah, she was the best part of the entire hotel scene where she just shows up everywhere
Right.
and then just disappears.
Like that.
Right.
And then Michael Pena's character's like, "Phew."
Where'd you come from?
And doesn't she also have the idea that
Yeah, have the
use Central
wedding
Park,
in the
yeah.
garden across the street. And then I don't remember who it was.
Right.
But like, you mean Central Park? And she's like, yes, the garden.
Yeah, right. I like
Okay.
Joy. One of my other notes I had in here was the use of music. Like, if you notice, there was music throughout the whole movie that kind of like they used to like set the tone or whatever it was. But there was just a lot of hip hop. There was a lot of like old school R&B that I heard in there. And I felt that they had to use that in order to like bring some kind of modernization or whatever to the actual content. But I like one thing. It was just music after track after track after track after track. So I thought the use of the music was actually really good, and it kind of kept. And I got my little trivia, but the reason why they used it. But anyways, I'm gonna stop right there. But I like the fact that they used a lot of music in the movie.
Interesting, because I honestly didn't really pay much attention to it, and I truly didn't notice it, which I suppose on one level is something that you want your soundtrack to do, is just like be a layer of it, so it's not like the only thing you're concentrating on. But I was just like, ultimately, I noticed the style, but it was weird, and then that pigeon song at the end was just like, why? There's a lot of things in this movie I was just going, why? But why on? Why?
Why
it
not?
ending with the pigeon. It ending with the pigeon song was just like, oh my god.
I have questions.
Okay, so let's talk about some of them. So now we kind of went through the plot. Let's talk about some of these things. What are your questions? Potion, did you have a question? Oh.
No, I was just saying I have questions about the movie in general. Just why did they make the choices
Right, okay. Yeah.
they did? Yeah, I was just trying to be funny and very much not.
Well, you froze for a second there, and I was like, is she frozen?
No!
Or did she... Okay.
Yeah, so you weren't sure if you actually missed a question or not.
Right.
No, my internet decided to play a funny on me.
Okay.
Bad internet.
Okay, so there goes the plot. Before we get into our final thoughts, I asked everybody pick like a little bit of trivia and kind of just share with the group. So let's kind of get into that. So we'll start with Elf, because I haven't heard Elf in a minute. So Elf, what trivia do you have for Tom and Jerry?
I found out that this is like the first Tom and Jerry movie without the original creators, Hanna-Barbera, on it, which is kind of cool, but kind of different.
Okay.
Like, they managed to keep it pretty faithful without the original creators.
First movie without the original creators. Stealth. What do you got?
This film was also dedicated to the veteran animator Gene Deitch, who worked on several Tom and Jerry features in his career. Like, it's like what you do with any movie. You dedicate it to who had the biggest influence over the character's lifetime. And for that, it was an animator.
Potion?
What I learned about this one when I was digging deep was that all the post-production was done by the people at their own homes because of COVID.
Oh.
It's just like, that's familiar.
COVID wins again.
The Rona.
Right. Crimson?
So like I said, I'm a cinephile, so I go deep into all of these things. I thought it was fascinating, the journey that the film actually went through, and it you can definitely tell, that's for sure, because it was supposed to be filmed in 2009, so it was supposed to be filmed 11 years before it actually got developed as a hybrid film, live action and animation, based on the success of Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Okay.
Success?
I
mean, got a
like those
sequel.
movies.
Yeah, so it got a sequel. Right. So it was at least somewhat of a success, and it languished in production hell for a long time because they couldn't figure out the story to tell. It originally was supposed to be an origin story of Tom and Jerry, how Tom and Jerry met each other, based in Chicago. And I guess somehow they moved that to New York City. And then it went into a different iteration in 2015. Then they decided to make it completely animated, get rid of the live action stuff. The storyline was mainly the same, Chicago and how they met one another. And then Tom Story, who was the writer and director of the film, got brought on, and he created what we saw today, which is a very different take on it, obviously. And yeah, so I don't really know why it went through all those different things. I think I would have liked to see the story of how Tom and Jerry got to know one another, but maybe they'll be able to do that again. I don't know.
Oh, wow. See, that's a hard act to follow because mine was very simple. So the trivia I'd like to share is that Tom and Jerry is a form of miming. And so obviously where the main characters do not talk and they do a lot of their communicating through action. Also with that, in order to help with the mime and telling the story, they put a lot of music on it. So you'll hear a lot of sound effects. You hear a lot of, obviously there's dialogue. And in this particular movie, they put a lot of music into it that really laid the foundation for what this scene was supposed to be like. And a lot of music does that for movies anyway, but even more so when the characters don't speak. So Tom and Jerry, from all the way back to the 40s, their style of theatrics or whatever is miming. And so a lot of people don't know that because they think of mime and they think like this white face painted character doing stuff like this. And miming is, I mean, there's a whole art to it. And Tom and Jerry have been doing it for years, and everybody has been doing it or been watching it, not even knowing. Like, oh, that's a form of theatrics. It's miming. So my trivia was that Tom and Jerry are mimes by trade.
I like that.
That's pretty legit. That's cool.
Well,
The more you know.
Right. I obviously Crimson's movie, so I was like, oh, mine sucks.
No, it doesn't. Like I used to work for a movie studio.
Fine.
Movies are my thing.
Right. All right, so let's get into some final thoughts. So we talked about the plot. We talked about some quirky stuff. So now we're going to talk about our final thought about what, and then if we're going to rate it, I don't know if you guys want to do a rating system or do you guys want to recommend or not recommend. So how would you guys, since this is our first show, we don't know what we're going to do. So are we going to rate it or are we going to recommend it, not recommend it?
Both.
I say to recommend
both.
More for the fact of, since this is not going to be just movies, we're going to have a wide array of subjects.
Okay. Well, did you want to do both? I heard both.
I want to do both. I'm going to do both.
I think you can do an out of 5 and then also a recommend or not recommend.
Okay. Sounds good. So, who wants to go first with their Tom and Jerry final thoughts? Not it.
Mine are a lot, so I can go first or last, whatever you want.
We're going to go last because yours is going to be the hard act to follow. So, I don't want to go after you again. Okay.
Rocks, paper, scissors for it.
So, for final thoughts, showed it for my daughter, put it on for my daughter. She sat down, she watched it, she was laughing, bouncing, doing her thing. It was a good reminiscence back to who they are as people. Tom and Jerry were as characters and what they grew up and built around. Like I said, I thought some of the animation was over the top, especially like I said with the elephants and some of the tigers. But another fact of all the animals in the entire movie were animated. There was no real animal in the movie. It was all animation. So it's like, but still, some of it was over the top. I would recommend the movie. I know you're getting hungry. Give me a second.
I'm hungry too.
Yes, I would recommend the movie.
Okay.
And I'd give about 4 out of 5.
Okay, 4 out of 5 with a thumbs up. Who's next? Elf? You're going to put Elf. Elf is next.
Hey, yeah, I'd give it like a 4.5 out of 5. I found it, pretty entertaining for considering how many cartoon movies I feel kind of fall flat these days. It held up pretty well, so yeah, I got to give it almost full stars. But I mean, there is some suspension of disbelief, of course, and some things that are kind of odd choices they made that I would have to reduce like half a star for. But I would recommend it, yeah.
Okay, so 4 stars with a thumbs up. Potion.
Let's see. Would I recommend it? Yeah. It's definitely entertained for like a popcorn flick for sure. Is there going to be anything deep in it? No. Is there going to be any meaningful life advice in it other than don't freaking destroy everything around you? No. As a rating on a scale of purple to aquamarine, I'm gonna give it an orange. And probably like a 3.5.2.
3.5.2.
That 0.2 is very important because like it's really not my cup of tea for movies. Like I like slapstick comedy, but I also have like just anxiety out the wazoo anytime it's just wanton destruction because I have a 4-year-old and she's very, very, very destructive. So anytime I see destruction around, I'm like, who's gonna have to clean it up? It's me.
Right.
This was not an enjoyable film for me. There were some funny parts, but the entire time I'm sitting there just going, oh my god, there's stuff everywhere.
Okay. I definitely would recommend it. It's for what it is. It's a great movie. I thought it was great. The plot, if we're gonna rate it on a scale of 1 to 5, I would probably give it. And this is just being generous. Is maybe like a 3. Because for a movie, if we're gonna compare it to like media in general, there are a lot of plot points. There are a lot of plot holes. There's, like, why did you do this? And this didn't make sense, or this didn't flow, or there's pacing issues, or whatever. So for a movie, like I said, being generous because it is nostalgic, I mean, I would probably give it a 2, but I'd give it a 3 because it was that throwback and it did bring me back to like when I was a kid and watching it. So I would give it that extra star because of that. So if I was thinking about it subjectively, it would definitely be a 3, and that's being generous. But I definitely would recommend it. I personally enjoyed it. If if anybody out there likes that type of, that movie and that is their thing, and it's free to stream anyway. It's not like you're out of pocket. I definitely would recommend it to anybody that just wants what Caitlin had said, just a distraction upon what's kind of out there right now. And I was really glad she picked it. So I would give it a recommendation with a 3-star, being generous. Caitlin, you're up.
Hey. So would I recommend it? Yes. I don't necessarily think that it is horrible. I did not want to get my 90 minutes back. I think that it was entertaining throughout the entire time. I definitely felt things when things were going on, and I laughed a little bit, and I thought the acting was really good in most cases. Being a critic, I am going to give it a 2.5 out of 5, mainly because the animation was incredibly off. If you look at any other live action animation hybrid, of which there are a few, but the main one that I'm comparing it to is going to be Roger Rabbit. The lighting is off. The stretch compression of animation is off, and the shadows were off. So you look and you look at the animation against the live action, and it completely looks fake. Whereas it doesn't look like they're actually part of the environment. They look like they're an animation cell on top of the film, which is what they actually are. Right. And so it did not integrate well. Whether that has to do because their post-production was with COVID, they didn't have what they needed, maybe. I mean, Raya and the Last Dragon was made mainly at home. and that's beautiful. But anyway, it was a different type of animation. It was a different type of animation, and it didn't work properly. They needed a better animation director for sure. The second part was what I sort of touched upon. They didn't introduce the characters at all. We were just supposed to understand who these people were as caricatures, which is fine in a children's movie or an animated movie-ish. But there was no introduction of who Tom was. There was no introduction of who Jerry was. There was no introduction really of who Kayla was, and she was the really big star of the film, right? She was the one that's supposed to have the emotional connection to Tom and Jerry. And again, you look at Roger Rabbit and you look at why that movie is iconic and why it's so emotional, and it's because they gave your human characters a drive, an ambition, a reason to deal with tunes, a reason to have a sort of emotional arc that happens. And they tried to give Kayla an arc with her lying and being a grifter and then all of a sudden taking responsibility. But it was the same arc that Tom and Jerry had. Right. And so either they had to work together to form that arc and form that emotional change, or they needed to be completely separate in their growth and what they were doing. So it was very lazy storytelling, which is fine, I suppose, but it definitely could have been a lot better. We finished watching the film and we're like, that was something for sure. Right. Like I said, it was definitely entertaining, but it had a great room for improvement, and I very much wish that it could have had that original film idea, because I think that would have been better.
That's some of the reasons why I felt there was pacing issues with it. Like, so the things weren't matching up.
Yeah. But it was also the uncanny valley of the animation that really threw me. Like, we first opened the first opening shot of the film, you're just like, this doesn't look right. And it didn't look right because they didn't have the shadows where they needed to be.
And the director stated that Who Framed Roger Rabbit was the film who was the inspiration that he wanted.
Do y'all remember Cool World with like Brad Pitt?
No.
No, I do remember that.
Right. Kind of like the same thing, like with the cartoon and real people kind of thing, except it's like this Brad Pitt and this cartoon chick.
Right, Hollywood was her name.
Yeah,
because I remember the tagline was Hollywood if she could.
Oh my god!
Yeah, Cool World, check it out. What is this? It definitely was reminiscent to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like for sure.
Mr. Colonel says
he remembers. Aiming for the same thing and kind of missed the target a bit, but it's still worth a watch, honestly. If only just to be like, what the hell did you make me watch?
Right.
Okay. There was Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Space Jam, Looney Tunes Back in Action. You got Yogi Bear, Alvin and the Chipmunks. A lot of animated plus actors, plus live action. So probably didn't suffer.
Also, the trend of Disney doing live action movies based off the animations.
Did it suffer from the COVID not being actual in the studio and bouncing ideas off each other like that? Yes.
Now that you say that, that whole thing about the shadows thing and it being an afterthought, like they just did the scenes and then they slapped it on top without even thinking about that. Yeah, as I think about it more, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, that did not look right. Okay, so I guess we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Any final things that we need to talk about yet?
What are we doing next time?
Okay. So StealthKing was up next. So in our next episode, which we will talk about when we're going to be doing that in post, we're going to be talking about. So we went from slapstick, kid friendly, and we're going to go to the complete opposite of the universe now. Because next week's topic, thank you, StealthKing. We're talking about Eminem,
one of the most famous rappers in the world.
So.
Just in time for cancel culture to try and cancel him too.
Right. So we'll delay the talk in the comments for next episode because I'm excited to do this episode. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the stream. I want to say thank you to everybody that kind of came in here, stepped in, said what's up, or you didn't, and you're gonna watch it on YouTube because that's where we're gonna put this thing. But let's take care of some business. First of all, again, we got Crimson Shield Scholar. She's a streamer. PotionsMaster is also a streamer. Stealth is a streamer, and Elf is a streamer. So if you guys liked what we're talking about, obviously you can go ahead and check out that chat link right there, shadowpackgaming.com. But let's start off with Elf. If they got any questions, comments, or emotional outbursts for you, where can they find you?
I am on Twitch at elf_daddy. And you can also technically find me on YouTube under the same name, but you're not likely to find me right away. I'm not that big on YouTube yet.
Stealth?
So on Twitch, I am StealthKing 500. I'm a variety streamer. Right now, my most recent game I'm playing is Little Hope. It starts out with a massacre and a fire. So
it sounds like a Little Hope to me too.
And then on Twitter, you can find me at StealthKing 5000. YouTube should be around StealthKing 500. And that's where you can find me.
Potion.
If you want to find me on Twitch, I am PotionsMaster66. You can find me on Twitter at the same handle. I'm also on Gamerize. Same name. It's like I have a theme or something.
Right.
And I actually have a Facebook as well. It's Enter the Cauldron.
Enter the Cauldron. I gotta find that then. Okay. Crimson?
Hey, you can find me, Crimson Shield Scholar, everywhere you find your social media content. So YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, and Gamerized. I'm just Crimson Shield Scholar the entire way. I do content creation, a variety of it. You can also find me on Fridays and Sundays on Rep RPG, Twitch's channel. I do a group game on Fridays, and on Sundays I do a solo game. Currently running Hades.
And we stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, you did, and it was great.
It was awesome. All right, so my name is SeanFlac 2.0. If you don't know me, you can check me out, SeanFlac, on Twitter. You can check me out, SeanFlac, here on Twitch. You put SeanFlac anywhere, you'll probably find something that I've done on there. So Instagram, I'm on TikTok. Not that much on TikTok, but anyway. For the most part, you can find me on Twitter, at SeanFlac. If you got any questions, comments, or emotional outbursts for any of us, again, you could also check us out, shadowpackgaming.com. Again, we just recently partnered up with Gamerized. Again, if you don't know what Gamerized is, that is a social media platform for gamers by gamers. If you want to check out our Shadowpack Gaming Gamerized page that's in the chat, you can go ahead and click that little link I just put in there. And without further ado, I want to say thank you to all of you guys for coming in with us and making this happen. It is take two, and we guys will see you guys in the next. Oh, let me see if I can do this transition right. In the next. Wait a minute. Wait for it. Everybody start waving. Because this is
Are you gonna finish saying bye? Are you gonna actually say bye?
Right, I'm gonna, once I get my hands on the but okay. Later, guys. Peace out.
You can't see, but I'm waving also.
Did it go?
Yes, it did.
I think it went, and we're still live. Okay, let me. I just muted us on. Right. I didn't want to just kill it, and I got music playing and everything. It's like we're trying to be. We're trying to make it. We're trying to be official around here. That's why I was like, let me hit this button and this music button, and then okay, we're ready. Start waving, guys. Right. All right. So let me go ahead and stop the stream.